This is episode number 1, a conversation with Rachella Parks-Washington about my new book, The Christian Musician. Now, this is a conversation that we recorded that I wanted to put together to share with a lot of you out there to get more insight about my new book, what it's about, and some of the chapters and angles that I'm addressing within the book. And you can get this book at QuamonFowler.com, or you can go to TexasTenor.com, and right on the front page you'll be able to purchase the new book. I'm going to cut you into the interview or the conversation, and this is only part 1, so you'll be able to get the part 2 in the next podcast. Okay, here we go. All right, we are online. This is Quamon Fowler of QuamonFowler.com or TexasTenor.com. It'll get you there, either one of those. And we are here online with a good friend and mentor, teacher that I had when I got going here in Fort Worth on the saxophone. She was one who we would hang out and practice, and she turned me on to a lot of the jazz greats, from James Clay to Charlie Parker, Sonny Rollins, Gene Ammons, and different musicians like that. And I wrote about some of our experiences and what I've taken away from, working with Rachella. And we had some conversations here recently about the book, and she wanted to get some of this captured. So here she is. I'd like to introduce Miss Rachella Parks-Washington. How you doing, Rachella?
I am blessed. How about yourself, Mr. Quamon Fowler?
I'm doing well. I'm doing quite well. Glad you could have some time to have some dialogue and, give some people who haven't had a chance to purchase the book just some insight and some perspective from, I guess, what I wrote about.
Well, I tell you one thing. That's what I said, one thing. If I don't know nothing else, but this one thing, this book is epic. And I'm not saying this because I've been knowing you for years, but it's God's honest truth. If you like self-help books, this should be in your collection. And I've read many books, and I've read several books on Christian musicians, and this book is just beautiful. The way that it's written, I like the conversations, the questions. Can't give a book away. But believe me, it's just a profound book. I don't see why it shouldn't go to the bestseller list because there's that much information in it. It's beautiful, and I think he was very candid about when you were speaking about your personal life. I don't need any brownie points, and you don't need any. It's just the God's honest truth.
Well, I appreciate that. I just wanted to, capture my experiences and share it with those aspiring musicians and even, experienced musicians, because I felt that some of the things that I learned just growing as a Christian musician would benefit those who are still trying to get their ducks in a row. And because there's a lot of myths that are tied into pursuing career in music. And one of the things, I think about the scripture, in Romans 12:2, where it says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. And the thing about that, be not conformed unto this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so when you're a kid and you have these childhood dreams and desires, you see it with the mindset of a child. And, when you focus on one area like music and your instrument and bettering yourself, you discipline yourself to hit those goals, but you don't realize that you spent so much time focused on hitting those small areas pertaining or under the umbrella of music, that you've neglected so many other areas. And this is where, when you get older, you get out of school and you have a family, or even if you desire a family, there's many other responsibilities that you have to take care of. And I believe a lot of times musicians have to put their life on hold, or their maturity is delayed because their mindset was so consumed with their childhood fantasy. And, that's why we were talking before about how, guys or even girls who are musicians, who desire to be highly skilled, or they want to travel and play and those type of things, they end up being 30 and 40 with either not married or have kids out of wedlock. And, it's just because they prioritize their fantasies, their childhood fantasies, over being practical. And, and it's due to, I would say, one of the main things which I mentioned in the book is your mindset, but it comes from not having mentors or people who are good examples in areas outside of music, And we need to have good examples from the standpoint of people who are living right. And when I say living right, I'm just saying who are responsible in business and finances and their family, and that's the main thing. We want to be the total package, and not just a great musician or phenomenal on the instrument, and then everything outside of that we're failures at. So that's why I wanted to create, this book, this publication, to share a lot of that with those musicians who are struggling with some of that.
One thing I want to say is that good advice, giving good advice is ageless. So if somebody's giving good and wise advice, whether you're 11 or whether you're 56, you should be able to accept it. So I feel this book is full of just wisdom. I always felt that you were way wiser than your age, and this book is really demonstrates just the wisdom that God has given you. But I just, even the title of your book, I just love the title of your book, The Christian Musician. Learn what your real gift is and how to succeed with and beyond your music. That's powerful. So I'm going to learn what your real gift is.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you even say that? Learn what your real gift is. I know you talked about it just a little bit, but I know oftentimes I'm guilty of myself of saying that, I've been blessed with a gift and yada, yada, yada. This person is blessed with a gift, but just reading this, what you've written, really explains your position on what the real gift is. If you want to just expound on that a little bit.
Well,
you feel it's not really a real gift.
Yeah. So what I've seen, like coming up as a child and hearing people tell me, you're gifted, you're anointed, and we have to be very careful with the language and really understanding. We need to have an understanding with these terms, because we use the Bible as our authority, as Christians, and it helps us to rightly divide rightly divide things. And so, for instance, with when you say your gift, now, from the standpoint of a natural standpoint, like our gift is usually people refer, it's really a talent or an ability. If we're spiritually speaking, you have different types of gifts, like the gifts of healing, gifts of like a word of knowledge, gift of prophecy, gift of helps. These are spiritual gifts. And a lot of times in church, people will say, "Oh, he's anointed, he's gifted," and they believe that you're just gifted to just play. That's all you're supposed to do is play. But when we look at a biblical example for a musician, we look at David. And the thing that's interesting about David in the Bible, he was first of all known to be a man after God's own heart. And he was a skillful musician on the harp. Now, you can play music and operate under the spiritual gift of helps and even prophecy. Because when you play music, it can encourage people. It can make people feel better. It can even be prophetic in certain ways. But the key is what's in the heart of the musician. Now, we look at the Bible and we know that the Psalms that are there are songs. He was a songwriter. David was a songwriter. But another attribute or a thing that you really want to pay attention to, it's not so much about his musical talent, but his gift of leadership. Now, so leadership is a gift. That's a spiritual gift. When I look at David, I was just like, wow, he's known to be one of the best kings or most notable kings of Israel. And when we look at him when he was a child in 1 Samuel 16th chapter, when Saul had the evil spirit that was tormenting him, he asked his servants if they knew of anybody who could come and play. Now, this is music therapy, where we find music therapy in the Bible. But the thing that's interesting, when they did think of somebody, they thought of David, but they named off all of these attributes and characteristics or qualities about David, and being a skillful musician was just one of them. But he was...
one was what?
Huh?
The Lord was with him.
Yeah, that was the last one. The Lord was
You said in addition to his good musical ability, he was known to be a courageous man, a warrior, a man of good judgment. He was good looking.
Yeah.
But most of all, they knew that the Lord was with him.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that right there has been like a model or like a mission, for me as a musician, because one of the things that you see when you're a musician and you get a chance to be in certain environments or you're around certain musicians who are super talented, you see their lifestyle outside of the music. And a lot of times it's stuff that's not appealing. You don't want to aspire to be like that. And I was when you're younger and you want to do certain things, and your abilities will allow you to be in certain arenas, and you get a chance to see. Well, I got a chance to see firsthand the lifestyle that is associated with being a really great musician, and they're not the best environments. I got to the point where it's like, man, I want to do stuff. I want to please God, and I want to give him glory through my life. And I just realized that a lot of the places and the stuff that I wanted to do, it just wasn't the right environment. or wasn't the right musicians, and I had to learn that, God had another path. He had another way. And so just from a natural standpoint, what I had to do is just look outside of my industry, look outside of the music industry and start focusing on entrepreneurial ideas, because you can take your experience as a performer, and even when you have to learn things yourself, you have a process, and you have the opportunity to create products and services as a teacher. And so one thing I realized about myself, my spiritual gift is that of a teacher. And, it functions, it's a word of knowledge is also, my spiritual gift. Now,
yes. Matter of fact, you documented it on page 62, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yes. If I read it, I'm not trying to give your book away.
No, that's
later.
That's
I learned that my spiritual gift was word of knowledge that would manifest itself through teaching. As I previously mentioned, teaching is in my blood, as my mom is a retired science teacher, and my dad was a math teacher.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And
so would you say that really the difference between a gift and a talent, I read in the Bible it says this thing was not given nor was it taught, but it was spiritually given from God. So these gifts are not taught, they're not given by man. It's only from God, the Spirit of God. God gives these gifts out. So that's just a simple like I can explain.
Yeah, and the thing when you think about so when you think about it, and I'm still using David as an example. When David was a child, he was out there tending to the sheep. He was practicing. He was playing his harp, and he was slaying bears and lions. And it was just nothing to him because he was just doing his job. He was protecting his sheep. Now, he didn't know or realize at that time that God was working on a much bigger job or duty that he was supposed to carry out to be the king. And so if you think about it, it was his thinking, the way he saw things. And that's what I get into explaining what your real gift is. The gift is the way you think. And music is just an avenue by which your giftedness is displayed through, and so more musicians have to learn to make the separation between their persona and who they really are.
My. Well, see, I always tell you as a young man, music is a thing, but it's not the thing,
Yeah.
So music is not everything, but I think a lot of us musicians, I'm just saying musicians as a whole, a lot of times we think that music is our number one priority. And even in your book I was reading, The Lord's Purpose That Prevails, only what you do for Christ will last. And I know that you understand that, and I think that's why you are brave enough to stick with not just playing anywhere with anybody, any kind of way. You have to make a stand, and that means that you have to turn down money, fame.
Yeah, because that's right.
So only what you do for Christ will last. And I like that chapter 26. I know we're skipping around, but it's just the way it's going.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's right.
Powerful. This title was inspired, and it was encouraged from Proverbs 19 and 21. Many are the plans in a person's heart. It is the Lord's purpose that prevails.
Yeah, and prevail is like to be victorious.
Right.
And that's the thing that you realize, when you go through life trying to do stuff your way, the way you want to do it, and you keep running into roadblocks or you keep facing issues and challenges, and you have to realize that it's a bigger purpose. It's a bigger plan that God has for you, and you just have to surrender to it. You know, like the word says, you know, from coming to me, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And so that's it. It's like what God has for you is for you. There's no competition in that area. You know, it's freely. It's like your voice. It's yours.
That's true. That's true.
And you know, just.
I mean, but that requires also
the
type of faith, knowing that whatever God gives you, just to develop it and believe in it, and stepping out on that faith. But you were saying, people have to,
and you have to
recognize
trust.
what it is that God wants us to do. You know, we have to be in the Word. We have to have, like you said, go back to that mindset. If we're not in the right mindset, in the right environment, we're not going to be thinking like that anyway. We're just going to be doing whatever.
And one of the things, too, is not that deep what God wants you to do and what he wants you to be. He's created us, if we just think about it. He created Adam, and then from Adam he created Eve, and then they bore children. They were married and they bore children. He was a leader. He was to name all the animals. He had dominion over the earth, and that's it. God created us, and we're creators, and it's not just to be creative with our works or musical works, but we have to be creators in the natural, and you know, be husbands and wives and fathers and mothers. That's where it counts. You know.
So being a musician don't give you a free pass to not being a great family man and provider, woman.
Yeah, that's it. But I think, you know, the world has confused a lot of people, or confused us, and you know, we get this mindset and this agenda that we're supposed to be the greatest and celebrated for what we do. But the thing that's ironic, God, he loves us because he created us, and we're created in his image. So he accepts us for who we are. You know, we have our own desires and stuff that we just want to do, and a lot of times our motive is off. And a lot of times it's because something happened in our childhood that made us feel rejected or not accepted, and we feel like we have to prove ourselves through our ability. You know, I'm going to show them, or I'm going to be competitive. I want them to ooh and ah, on, you know, because of my plan. And, you know, and it's not even about that, you know. And here's the deal. Like, even when you accomplish goals, just like I've won competitions and stuff like that, but I talk about in the book, after winning a notable competition at Thelonious Monk International Jazz Competition, I was third, you know, in an international jazz competition. But after that, it's like I felt, you know, I was celebrated by, you know, my musical ability and all of that. But when it came down to it, I couldn't get a house in my name, and I didn't have, you know what I'm saying, I couldn't get.
It didn't come with credit, huh?
Yeah, right. But that's the thing. The world will have you prioritizing all of this external stuff when you need to get the internal stuff together. But it takes somebody to be speaking in your life and to challenge you, the man or the woman behind the music, so or beyond the music, so that we can be who we need to be in the natural, and not get caught up in the hype, because that's how you deceive yourself. But go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, and the thing that's ironic too, that happens when you know, from hearing the word from a child, and my mom used to read the word to me, And so I learned early on about the war that happened in heaven and how Lucifer tried to fight against God and his angels, and he lost. And he took a third of his angels that were cast out of heaven. Ezekiel chapter 28, it talks about how it explains Lucifer and his body. I mean, this was a prophetic word that was going to the prince of Tyrus, but it explains, like, you were in the garden of God. Every precious stone was thy covering. And it goes on to explain how all of these jewels and all these things were built on the body of Lucifer. But it says, you were beautiful in the day that you was created until iniquity was found in your heart. And on the inside, he was wicked. And so what I see, the world prioritizes the program, the show, and everything on the outside to be glamorous, whereas on the inside is wickedness. But that's not how God would operate. Like, he don't care about all of it's not about works. We don't please God or win God over by our works.
No, you can't get in heaven by works.
That's right. It's all about our heart and our receiving Jesus. And it's not about what we do in that regard. Of course, once we're saved for good works. We need to do good works, but we don't do good works to be accepted by God. But if you let the world tell it, or the devil, you have to do all of this stuff, jump through all of these hoops just to be accepted and to be validated. But at the end of the day, folks still depressed because it's not good enough. But God is not like that.
I'm glad he isn't. Lord have mercy. But I was going to just go back a little bit, and you was talking about your mother, teaching the Bible and yada, yada, yada. But your father also, we know he was a powerful man in that word. He was always encouraging me and other people, and he would always give me a scripture. But he was always also responsible for you using your video camera all the time. That was some information. I was just like, okay, that's where you got that from. That was to record everything, video everything. So it's just not something you just started doing. Your father just equipped you with some skills, your parents, just and just to have that zeal, just to study the word, and not just study the word, but really to apply the word to your life. One thing I can say about you, one reason why I'm really excited, the other reason I'm excited about this book, this is just not a book you just wrote because it's information. I mean, you really live this. I don't know everything about you. I know a lot about you, but not everything. But I do know that as long as I've known you, you've always just demonstrated just the love for the Lord.
I appreciate it. And that's, our roots, our core beliefs come from our childhood experiences. And my dad, one of the things I remember riding in the car, with him all the time, he would just tell Bible stories. And one of the things he encouraged me when I was a teenager, he's like, you need to read Proverbs. You need to read Proverbs. It's 31 Proverbs chapters. You can read one a day. And so, and I'm not trying to paint a picture like I was perfect or a saint or anything like that. But the point is, it's just what the Bible says. And it says if you train up a child in the way that they should go, when they get old, they will not depart from it. Even when I desired to do stuff wrong and experimenting and trying to get into stuff that everybody else was into, I had a conviction. I had something that would conflict within me because it was planted in me. That seed was planted in me. So it was very hard for me to get way out there, in sin.
Okay, so that is part 1. I have part 2 that I will release next week, episode number 2. And thank you for listening, and make sure you get your copy today by going to QuamonFowler.com, or you can go to TexasTenor.com. That's TEXAS10ER.com. And there you will be able to access everything that I have going on. But mainly, the new release is the book, which is entitled The Christian Musician. Learn what your real gift is and how to succeed with and beyond your music. Okay, we'll see you next time. This is Quamon Fowler of Texas Tenor Works. Peace.